Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm out here in the park, probably trespassing, for all I know, because it is late. It's about 11. I'm just not ready to get in the bed just yet. And, yeah, me and my folks went out. By my folks, I mean my dad and my stepmother. I ain't seen them in I don't know how long, a very long time. Basically, since I left Memphis, which was basically 6.5 years ago. Yeah, that's about right, 6.5 years. Cause I was telling them, it'll be 7 years in October that I've been out here in Colorado. So we did a bunch of catching up and whatnot. We went out to Glendale, to some burger joint out there. And, I never eat anywhere, period. Much less anywhere over there in Glendale. That place bougie as hell, bougie. I was like, shit, I would have been good. We just stopped at Chili's on Colorado Boulevard. So yeah, it was just some burger joint, and then they dropped me off, and yeah, I've been back. Low key wanted some more food. And with me being a bodybuilder and everything, Ninja be requiring more calories and whatnot, but I'm straight. I'll probably just, because on the slick, a Ninja just really just wants some meat, but I'll probably just, go back home and just eat some fruit. I just cut up a big ass watermelon. And I already got like grapes and cherries. Cause yeah, I was kind of talking about my biggest issue, and with my father being, having obtained a doctorate. Yeah, he obtained a doctorate about 4 or 5 years ago in this profession, which is history. I was just trying to get some pointers, and it's been a debate for years in my head. Even before, and I told him this, even long before I came out to Colorado, I had a vision that if I'm gonna go to Colorado has the degrees that I want and need, as well as the money to basically finance those classes, so that I can basically put my black ass through school, bereft of any kind of so-called scholarships and damn sure loans, because I'm spent up on my loans. I'm paying those back right now, so that's obviously not an option. But and yeah, man, it was always a debate, and I know I've talked about this too. It's almost like the left lobe of my brain was getting into an argument with the right lobe of my brain, trying to figure out based on my income, based on my age, what I'm to do with Boulder, if anything at all. Because looking at Boulder, 1,000 miles away back in Memphis, I was like, damn, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to go through Denver first. Then after Denver, I'll get to Boulder. I'll see what I gotta do in Boulder. But man, once you come out here and see what life is really like between Denver and Boulder, like the commute, like say, like it's crazy. Because I was telling them, when you realize that bridge is just too far, it doesn't make a difference if it's. I just saw a shooting star. It doesn't make a difference if it's 1,000 miles away or 25 miles away. Because currently, now that I do live in Denver, yeah, I'm about 25 miles away from Boulder. But what difference does it make knowing what all I'm gonna have to consider, all the factors that I would have to consider if I made that jump. Now, what I got going on here at CU Denver, because I told y'all I'm currently enrolled, or at least I'm not enrolled in any classes, but I have been accepted, so I'm practically a student at CU Denver. I'm in CU Denver's database as a bioengineering student. And I got to switch some of that up or add some of that because they got the bioengineering right. Yeah, they got the bioengineering right, but I'm like, shit, I'm going to need you to add biochem because that's basically what I'm double majoring in and minor in computer science and electrical engineering. And then getting my master's too in biochemistry and bioengineering because CU Denver has this whole thing about this where you can double major in both. So I guess that's so that you don't. It's supposed to cut costs, like, so it's supposed to cut money basically, so you save money and time. That's the whole point of it. So instead of getting 2 master's degrees in 4 years, you can get it in really less than 2. Apparently, they say you can get it in less than. You can finish 2 degrees in less than 2 years because traditionally, as y'all know, master's degrees usually take 2 years. The master, I've even heard some take 3. But yeah, man, the whole PhD thing, and he was telling me about how he was awarded his doctorate in in history. He ain't even really using it like that because they actually did, the University of Memphis actually did offer him a tenured position, but the money, the money that he was gonna get from it, it just didn't add up to. It didn't even add up to. It would have added up to the same amount of money that he's currently making now. Because my dad's a vet, and so he has this position at the VA. So it had me thinking, because we all know how sons are. We want to follow in our father's footsteps. So with him being a university professor and having been one for many years, I on the slick, figuring that I'm getting all this education under my belt, have this whole notion of becoming a tenured professor at some point in my life. And I figured, I was just thinking, with the proximity, the fact that I am in Colorado, the fact that, I'm just 25 miles away here in Boulder, why wait for a better option? Why not just get it out the way now, despite the fact that it's going to cost literally an arm and a leg. I mean, because bruh, it's expensive enough in Denver. Boulder, I might as well be going to med school for the amount of money. And I finally had to come to my senses and finally realize that tree just ain't worth climbing. The juice is not worth the squeeze. I would be better served getting both of those masters here in Denver, leaving Colorado once I'm done with Colorado, because I'm out this motherfucker once I'm done. Because I stay on Colorado's head. Do what I gotta do here. Head back to Memphis if I have to. Endure Memphis for a good minute, all the while getting my baggage set for exile again, so I can basically F off to Germany. Now the thing about Germany, I don't know if y'all know this, but European schools in general are cheap as hell. Cheap as hell. It's cheap as hell to go to school in Europe in general, let alone Germany. And Germany's no exception. It's cheap as hell to go there. So from that perspective, it makes so much more sense. Even with the convenience or the lack of me being just 25 miles away from Boulder versus 1,000 miles from Boulder, where like I originally was, and here I am 25 miles from Boulder, still haven't been to Boulder yet. I've always had that plan. Not that that's gone anywhere. to get out here and get a degree in astronomy, because that's what I'm going there for. That's what I would have been going there for. But like I said, I'm pretty sure I've stated this before. With a master's degree in chemistry, I probably don't need a degree in of any kind in astronomy. I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't, considering the type of field of astronomy that I'm trying to get into, which is astrochemistry, not astrophysics, astrochemistry. Which, yeah, just reminds me, the University of Colorado at Boulder doesn't have astrochemistry. It has astrophysics, and I don't want astrophysics. I don't consider myself an astrophysicist, even with everything that I know from about physics, from general physics on up to general relativity. Everything that the astrophysicist would know, I like to think I know. Still, having said that, I consider myself an astrochemist. So, I guess it's just a bridge too far, and I'm fine with that. I can walk away. I can walk away from Boulder. Stay away from Boulder. Now, having said all that, let me get off that tangent, and because that's not what the crux of this video is about. I know we're already 11 minutes in, but the crux of this video, while I'm basically preparing myself to go to sleep or whatnot, because I've basically been sleeping all day. I ain't really ready to get into bed like that. But Denver's boring like a motherfucker. Ain't nothing to do, so I figure I might as well watch some TV or something if I doze off. I wanted to talk about my thoughts on Tommy Sotomayor's apparent Negro wake-up call. That's the crux of this video. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to weigh in on. Tommy Sotomayor's Negro wake-up call. Because I heard this fool, and see, for years, Tommy Sotomayor has been regarded by many members of black society as a coon. And mostly part of that is due to the fact that in in his long YouTube career, his long-winded YouTube career, I might add, because I've known Tommy since 2012, and he was probably on YouTube way longer than that, where he would basically make these videos of black women of scraggle-daggles, sniggles and scraggles in their element, doing what they do, and him basically commenting on it. And I fucked with Tommy for a good while, because it opened my mind. I mean, it opened my eyes, basically, like I said, as a ninja living in Memphis, trying to figure out what the fuck is going, and never really having much of an answer. Like, Tommy Sotomayor was basically my very first red pill teacher when it came specifically to black women and in the community as a whole. And having said that, with me talking about, going back to Memphis at my home, at my house, my father's house, basically, it's not lost on me that I'm basically playing a game of Russian roulette. As I prepare my steps, as I prepare to make my way off to Germany, in the God willing near future. And like I said, it was Tommy Sotomayor's videos that basically that had me realizing just who and what basically the black woman is, or the sniggle, the scraggle dagger, or what he called the BT 1000, the hair hat. Who they are, what they are. But years down the line, it was just, I remember, and I'm not even sure if he has a channel anymore, because it was probably just maybe a few years ago or so that he was continuing again making these videos. Now everybody's making them. Like there's this cat named I forget his first name, but his last name's like the Williams Show, and he basically does the same thing, but he calls them babies. It's almost like he low key patronizes them. He calls them babies, whereas like I said, Tommy was calling them, hair-hatted hooligans and and BT 1000. So having said that, it has been a long time since I've seen, you know, Tommy doing it. I just assume, especially in YouTube's climate today, that he just ended up getting demonetized. But I have seen him, but he has been, and he's still basically doing talk show host type stuff. Like I've seen him on Fresh and Fit, with Myron Gaines, the likes of Myron Gaines and Donovan Sharp, where they're discussing basically, with some very young harlots, I may add, like a lot of them are as young as 18, discussing basically intergender dynamics, if you will, dating, if you will, in today's climate, if you will. Wherever that rabbit hole goes, that's definitely something, I would say you rolling the dice on, bro. And most of us have just been getting snake eyes. But anyway, so having said that, it was right around, the first term that Trump was in office, that I ran into the likes of Richard Spencer. It was right around, I don't know exactly what year, but it goes without saying that I've known of the likes of a Richard Spencer for a very long time. And having said that, I've known that Richard Spencer is basically David Duke Jr. And since I've known who Tommy Sotomayor is, and since I've known for quite some time who Richard Spencer is, the only question that I can first, before I go any further, the only question that comes to mind when I hear about Tommy Sotomayor being disrespected by the likes of a Richard Spencer in some sort of conversation, whatever kind of conversation, whatever platform it was by which they were conversing, is what the fuck was that nigga doing talking to the likes of a Richard Spencer in the first fucking place? I mean, I just can't help but that's the first question, first and foremost, before anything. What was he doing what was he doing on that platform? I mean, dude, you might as well have been on Stormfront. And the second question, and it's not really a question, it's just me trying to pry, it's just trying to pick at his brain, is, Ninja, I know for a fact, I know good and well you don't think that you can just come to a white supremacist platform that I know you don't think you some good nigga who can just go to a white supremacist platform and be treated differently because you think you some sort of token Negro or some good boy. I know that's not what you thinking. Please tell me you ain't thinking that. And that turns my attention to my own personal stories and experiences that I've had in my own encounters with white boys, because needless to say, I've had quite a few white friends in my past. In fact, I dare say I have them now. I guess they're my friends. I think they're my friends. And yeah, they're white. And it's always been like that because, it's not like, and I've always justified having them in contrast to Pookie and Ray Ray. Having Pookie and Ray Ray for friends when, and the evidence that we see from that is the likes of a Julio Fulio and his ops, all for the sake of, kind of like basically, all for the sake of basically relating to the black experience. Because that's always been my platform. Like, nigga, with friends like you, nigga, I need enemies. I want enemies. I've met niggas like Julio Fulio. And I mean, everything that prominent progressive black men either despise or should despise and revile. Aside from the fact that they have the same melanin content that we do, we have nothing in common with these people. Because, I mean, they're just not of our ilk, and we're not of theirs. I mean, that's their lot in life. That's what I'm like. That's what they do. When I look at the likes of a Julio Fulio and goons all throughout this country, I'm like, bruh, that's what they do. And especially like what they got going now, like getting out here killing the ops and then making rap songs about it, basically dissing the dead. That's what these ninjas do. And I've been trying to tell folks like my mother and other people who just couldn't figure out why is it that I would hang out with white kids growing up so much versus the black kids. This is why. And to add on top of that, it's not so much that I didn't want to hang out with the black kids, because I did have black friends. It's just that due to the fact that there were so few, that I had so many white friends, by which we had similar traits, similar things in common. That's why I had so few black friends. And I did have black friends. And I was cool with those black friends. Hell, I probably had even more of a relationship with those black friends, because some of those black friends were related to my mother's friends. So I had more of a relationship, a better relationship and a connection with them, due to the fact that we're both black, due to the fact that we have shared interests. Unfortunately, for some anyway, they were outnumbered by the white friends that I had. So having said that, I know what it's like to be the token. I know what it's like to be the token black. I experienced this, and even though, with the white friends that I did have, we all went to a predominantly black school because we were basically in the hood. But then, and I was just about to speak on my experiences in college, but yeah, I gotta stop myself for a minute and talk about the fact that I transferred. The fact that I transferred during my high school years I transferred after my sophomore year to this other school that was pretty much, yeah, the racial ratio, for lack of better words, was pretty much half and half. Yeah, it was half black, half white, with I would say really on the real 40% black, 40% white, 10% other. With other, I mean Asians, Latinos, foreigners, Africans, Indians, you name it. And I saw firsthand, and this was back in 2002, 2003, 2004, when I graduated. I saw firsthand what the racial makeup of this country really consists of. Because at that school, I wasn't just surrounded by a bunch of thug-ass, hood-ass ninjas with a handful of white folks, handful of Vietnamese, handful of Latinos. Like, and the best evidence that I can provide that I saw was was in the cafeteria. And one side of the cafeteria, it was mostly Negroes. Like one side section, it was Negroes. The other half was white folks. And in between, it was, and every now and then, you had token blacks, far and few, far and few. You had token Asians. They called them bananas. But on the slick, you had ghetto Asians too. That's the crazy part. Every now and then, you would see ghetto Asians hanging around all over there on the black clique. They'd be clicked up with the blacks. And like I always tell everybody, I sat on the side basically with the Mexicans. That was my seat. Cause low key coming from Wooddale, bro, them white station niggas was low key bougie. By the way, I'm like, y'all niggas straight soft, bro. They looking at by the time, cause even though I was always a good kid and whatnot, and I always stayed in school, and like I said, I had white friends versus some hood ninjas. It really didn't change the fact that I grew up in that area. So of course, it was only a matter of time before I was going to end up going to school in that area. But the school was so hood, I was like, bro, I know I can do better than this. So I might as well just bid out to see if I can transfer to White Station. Which, by the way, I don't know how it is. Well, no, it's ratchet as fuck now. White Station, ratchet as hell. But like I said, 20 years ago, it was the best school. And it was a public school, too, on top of that. It wasn't no private school. It was the best school in the city. But I would dare say that was probably my wake up call, as well as living over there on the Poplar, around that Poplar Highland Strip. That was probably my Negro wake up call, and it wasn't like somebody called me out my name in that high school, like unlike my brother, somebody because he moved. He was at a predominantly white school too, out in Collierville, and he said he didn't hear him, but he said somebody heard somebody call him the N-word. No, it wasn't that bad for me when I was going to high school. But between that and the Karen experience, my first Karen experience, when I was working at Atlanta Bread Company, with a racist ass Louisiana and a Frenchie, might as well have been a Frenchie. Between that was probably my first Negro wake up call anyway. Cause I knew good goddamn well, like I said, I didn't fuck with them Negroes like that. But bro, I had nothing in common. With these white folks. With those white folks, with these white kids. I'm like, these ain't the kind of white kids that I befriended when I was at Wooddale Middle and Wooddale High. They just weren't. And it's not to say that the white kids that I hung out with were bad or into drugs or anything like that. They were just some regular white kids. It was probably hanging out with them that I gained the inspiration to pursue a degree in Japanese, because like I said, we played video games, and haven't and most video games of their origin come from, guess what, Japan. But no, these white kids at White Station, and I remember hanging out with one maybe once, and they just happened and I almost feel like I'm talking like Kanye. He said, I can't say what that particular race of people, I can't say that. But I don't say this to be facetious, but these white kids, I remember one time I kind of found myself fraternizing with one group, like in this one table, obviously over on the white side, that they were that they just happened to be Jewish. And then like I said, you had jocks, you had wrestlers. It was just a different. Yeah, you had rugby, lacrosse. Yeah, they were doing all that. Hell, whereas at Wooddale, shit, barely had barely had basketball. I'm like, nigga, did we have football? Did we have baseball? Because that was about it. That old hood ass school. And smart as a motherfucker. And I was smart than a motherfucker. Because if I had stayed at Wooddale, which I most certainly didn't want to, there's no doubt in my mind I would have been accepted in the honor society. So I always felt like I sacrificed so much going over to that school just for the sake of bettering, I guess, my experience, my high school experience and my education, if you will. Because these motherfuckers were basically straight A students. They were valedictorians and all that shit. And yeah, needless to say, most of them were inducted in the Honor Society. I think I've told y'all in the past I was inducted in the Junior Honor Society. So I say all that to say, well, yeah, let me continue. So in college, so freshman year, I have a roommate who's white, and he's actually he was actually in the college version of the Marine Corps ROTC, if you will. So again, this was kind of like similar to my first experience with my friends back in middle school and high school, my white friends anyway. And I don't really even recall too many Negroes or black folks, who were friends with theirs. So yeah, it goes without saying that I probably was most likely indeed the token black guy. Because I remember going to some of the frat parties, Halo nights. I remember that shit. Me falling the fuck out, just sitting there, knocked the fuck out. And I bet with the racial, and like I said, that was 20 years ago. The whole racial thing that's going on now, it was subtle back then. It was subtle back then. You would have been an idiot. And that's probably why the likes of a Richard Spencer finally came out of the woodwork around the time of 2017, like around the time when that bullshit happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, and whatnot. Because back then, I mean, if you were a Richard Spencer in 2004, when Facebook is getting popped up and whatnot, back then people would have the social dynamic back then was just different. I'm willing to say that even with the Karen, now Karens were still around. Don't get it twisted. I mean, this country has always had a long, good history of racism, white supremacy, and thus Karens. Because like I said, I've known of Karens at least since I was like 18, and I didn't even know there was a term for it. It was just, it was later on. I just call it false accusatory, crazy white bitch. White women lie, black men die. Just crazy, manipulative, lying, deceitful white bitch. Before we coined the term Karen. So it wouldn't have made sense in a climate like 2004 for the likes of a Richard Spencer or even David Duke to come out of the woodwork. Because white nationalists have always been around. I mean, they've always been around. That goes without saying. So having said that, even with all the white folks that I have befriended and still do befriend in this town, like the friends that I've met, none of those guys strike me as white nationalists. I would be quite surprised. Because the white friends that I had, especially the ones in college, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if one of those fuckers either were or knew somebody who was about that WS life. That wasn't a surprise. And they were cool. They were cool as hell. In fact, one of them, I saw one, like, I mean, I'm talking about this was my freshman year, my first semester, first year that I met these dudes. And I met this dude like literally 8 years older than me, 26, getting married. And I mean, it was like my most college experience. It's crazy too, bro. How my genuine college experience was my first semester and maybe my second semester in college. And after that, it just turned in. It's like from there, it just turned into the fight of my life, where I had to deal with Memphis, survive Memphis, all the while contending for a goddamn bachelor's degree. Shit was crazy. This shit was wild. But having said all that, yeah, it goes without saying that it would seem at the time, in the early 2000s, that the whole racism thing was finally coming to a screeching halt to a more or less extent. But as we've seen with, Trump's first term in office, and with him potentially getting back in office again, that blatant racism, not the covert kind that I'm at least used to, blatant overt racism is making a comeback. It's making a revival. So having said that, bruh, going back to Tommy Sotomayor, I just have to ask, because I've seen my share. Lord knows I've seen my share of black assholes. Lord knows I've seen my share of white assholes. And with Tommy Sotomayor having at least 10 years on me, because I know he's 48, I'm 38. With this dude having 10 years on me, I'm like, bruh. And with you originally being from Atlanta too, because I'm a Southern boy. I'm from Memphis. Y'all know that. Of all places, right? When it comes to, you know what I'm saying, given the South's history. Because like I said, when I was at Atlanta Bread Company, the dude from Louisiana, he was the type of dude. He was one of them dudes who talked black. He had a black accent. He had black friends. He was one of them motherfuckers. He was almost like one of them liberal whites, where I'm cool with black people as long as they understand that they're under me. He was one of them motherfuckers. And that's why I was never cool with him. That's why I never really fucked with him like that. Not to mention he wasn't really my age anyway, but I was like, and he always pointed out that, I know, I'm like, well, if you know that, why is you, like, bro, you telling me who you are. You weird as fuck, fool. You over here acting like you one of us, like, you down with the brothers, you like you a nigga just like the rest of us niggas, but you take, and then you playing both sides of the fence, dude. You claiming to be a nigga from the hood, but you taking advantage of your white privilege. And you're a lowlife, and you're a criminal. And I say that dead ass. Dude was a criminal. He had a criminal record. He was into all kinds of shit. Nigga was dirty as fuck. But Tommy, the fact that you couldn't distinguish, because you have some platforms or some people who say that, as black people, we ain't got no business fooling with them folks anyway, until more or less extent. I agree. I couldn't agree more. AC would say that. But given our own experiences within members of our own quote unquote, like Glocktavius, Pookie, and Ray Ray, you got to check motherfuckers at the gate. You can't just let you in because you black, bro. It don't work like that. It should, but it don't work. It just don't. That's not the social dynamics, dude. And likewise with white folks. So we got to check you at the door, especially with racism revving up. We really got to check you at the door, bro. But you gonna get it the same way Glocktavius get it if your papers come up red. So having said all that, and I know I've labored a little bit long, I know I'm doing too much, but let me just say this, bro, to Tommy. How did you not know what kind of dude? I'm not even gonna say white dude. I'm not. No. You know what kind of dude, what kind of person the likes of a Richard Spencer is. How did you not know that? And if you did know that, then what did you expect? Because he said something real disrespectful, like, yeah, back to the cotton fields, boy. It was something to that extent. I'm like, you're trying to argue for expecting somebody who has made it abundantly clear that he's one of these alt-right fucks. Like I said, basically, David Duke Jr., somebody who's made it abundantly clear that he's about white nationalism. And in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that as long as he stays in his corner and ain't trying to terrorize other people who don't fit into his category of white nationalism. The question is, Tommy, why are you over there? Why are you over there? Especially when he's shown you who he is. When he's shown you who he is. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy when I think about, like, the things that I experienced growing up in the hood. But, little do I think about, little do I consider, especially listening to Ock Nation News, who's black, by the way. He'll have guests on his show who clearly you can just tell by the accent they're white. And, and they'll talk about how they had to grow up in the hood. They had to grow up around Sunmen and all the things they had to do basically to get the Sunmen off their ass, much less get them to respect them, and how it ended up, most likely it ended up coming to blows, coming to violence. Because that's just how Sunmen are. It's to me, it's crazy how those guys, having grown up around niggas, and most likely having had countless fights with niggas, usually end up being the least racist. It's crazy how that dynamic works. Because, bro, I can't stand niggas. I don't like niggas. I never have and I never will. But I know in the eyes of a white supremacist, like, we're one and the same. The brother, and this is what Tommy apparently doesn't understand. The black man who's going to school, pursuing a degree, is in the same... He's in the same limelight as Glocktavius getting out there impregnating Keisha, impregnating Becky, impregnating whoever, and shooting up half the neighborhood and killing everybody except his intended target. We're one and the same in a racist eyes. And a lot of this stuff, as far as racism, that I've learned from white people themselves. White people have told me that a real racist, you wouldn't even see him. You wouldn't have access to him. You wouldn't even know he's there because, and it makes sense when you get to a certain echelon in this society, if you're a judge, a magistrate, you go to the country club. You go to places that, and you live in places that, Negroes like me can't afford, and other undesirables in their eyes can't afford. And the few spooks who are there, coonish as hell. And like I said, I've seen it, bro. I've seen the coons. I've seen the bootlegs. Some real shines, some real shoe shines. Them some coons for your ass. It's like what's his name said, Ice Cube said, fuck the police, Like, don't let it be a black or a white in a white one, because that black one really gonna trip out. And that's when he said that. That's not just cops, bro. That's bootlicks in the workforce. That's bootlicks in HR. Yeah, black cop showing out for the white cop. I'm like, that's black bootlicks, pretty much showing, because they got to show that they some, that they, and that to me is a token and a coon. And that's a sorry place to be, bro. That's a sorry place to be, because unfortunately, there are some white folks in this country who genuinely believe that our place is the plantation. That's why he told you that. That's why he said, back to the cotton fields, because he was basically saying, know your place, boy. You lucky he didn't call you into that, but I mean, he might as well have. He might as well. You being a dark-skinned Negro too, because I'm a dark-skinned Negro. And sometimes we do need to know our place. I'm not saying that from a position that we need to be subservient. No, I mean, I'm saying we need to know our lane. We need to know our lane. And bruh, you was way out of lane. You was way out of bounds. You might as well have been on a storm front, chat. What did you expect? You having a debate with some white nationalists? With some alt-right motherfuckers? What did you expect? You don't see me going to a goddamn Klan rally. That's why you will never see me go to a goddamn Klan rally. In fact, to show my quote-unquote loyalty to white folks, I remember, just for the sake of being around them, right? I remember even I had enough sense to know, because my folks, being my mom and my dad, attended UT Martin, University of Tennessee at Martin, and they were trying to get me to go there. For some odd reason, they didn't want me to leave Tennessee, because out-of-state tuition. I guess that makes sense, but they wanted me to leave Memphis, whether that was UT Chat, I guess MTSU in Nashville, or Murfreesboro somewhere, whatever, or Martin, this town called Martin, because there was a college, University of Tennessee in Martin, UT Martin. And I remember as we went through Martin, the one and only time that I went to Martin, that I saw a Klan fraternity, and that in and of itself shut it down. I shut it down from there. I was like, oh hell no, hell no, hell no, 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 no. That was a hell no at that. And surely enough, I attended the University of Memphis, the very same college. I mean, the university in the very same city in which I grew up. And I went through thick and thin and hell on high water in my own city, but I got that. I prevailed all the same. And once I saw that my city wasn't doing me no justice, I hopped on that Greyhound and took my ass to Denver, Colorado, some dang near 7 years ago. And here I am. And I've been Colorado bound since. Been Denver bound since. I ain't even left the city besides the suburbs out here. But no, bro, you didn't know your place. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing debating? Like, not just debating. I mean, debating like we're friends. Like, bro, you're supposed to, like, I'm one of the good guys. I'm one of the good niggers. You're supposed to respect me. And like I said, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Anyone who's made it abundantly clear that they're a white nationalist, like basically, or a neo-Nazi, any of the type, if they were bold and brazen enough to let me know that that's what they're about, I didn't fuck with them. I didn't even talk to them. I'm like, dude, there's nothing to talk about. Like, in your eyes, I'm a nigger. So, I mean, my opinion isn't worth a fart in the wind. I mean, to you. Like you got to know your place. And I've talked about my quote unquote Anglo-Saxon origins because a lot of this is going on. I've been known it too. I've been known that I'm part English. I mean, just sometimes you just know, like it's in the blood. Like blood will always tell. But having said that, because I've been seeing, we got Ancestry.com, and there's even TV shows. I just saw some skit of this. So it was a black dude and a white dude. It was this white kid, and they did like DNA testing and whatnot. And so it turned out that the white kid didn't have any African ancestry that he low-key suspected, but he did have Apache ancestry. So he was basically, he was harping about the fact that he's Native American, and the black dude apparently had some Irish ancestry in him. So they were tripping about the fact that no, you're the one who colonized my people. You're a colonizer. Now, having said that, do you really think, like I said, with my Anglo-Germanic ancestry that I know fully well of just due to the fact how well I mastered English and German, I know I'm an Anglo-Saxon. Do you think that I'm going to be sitting up here in this country or anywhere, even when I get to Germany, trying to convince a bunch of good old boys? Because I mean, just like I said, by my nature, just by my genetic makeup, I know how the Anglo-Saxon thinks. Because it's part of my DNA too. And I would think that if you are partially Anglo-Saxon, you should know how the Anglo-Saxon thinks. And don't even waste your time trying to convince them that they're Anglo-Saxon because they're racist as fuck. They ain't trying to hear nothing about your English Germanic ancestry. They don't give a fuck. No more than no more than they give a fuck about your black coon ass, Tommy, trying to get in good graces with them for whatever the fuck reason. And I mean, it never fails how y'all will always try to get in the good graces. It's not so much that you're trying to get in the good graces of white folks. You're trying to get in the good graces of racist, blatantly racist white folks. That's even worse. Of like, y'all, it's crazy to me how y'all always find the worst examples of white folks. Just like how we run into the worst examples of black folks and get into good graces with them. I mean, that shit never astonishes me. It never astonishes me. I mean, it never ceases to astonish me. It never ceases to astonish me. And having said that, I've met some good white folks. Like I said, I've befriended some good white folks. I've befriended some good black folks. Having said that, I've met both sides. New levels, new devils. I've met white devils, black devils. Good, straightforward, salt of the earth white folks. Good, straightforward, salt of the earth black folks. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to get at. But the thing is, having the ability to discern and identify, not just going after some folks just because they're white, or likewise just because they're black. Just because it's about agenda. It's about reaching somewhere. If you ask me. Because I've seen it on both sides, bro. I've seen it. I remember in the 9th grade, there was this dude who had like sort of like this accent, and it was a black dude, and he was actually a nigga I was cool with. And guess what happened? I mean, it was almost like the polar opposite, right? Because even then, back then, there was this huge pressure about quote unquote acting white. Something that to this day I quite don't really get. I get it, I do. But I don't get it, if you know what I mean. Confining yourself to speaking, in a mush mouth, in a very mush mouth, low vibrational, premising your blackness upon that. That's what I mean when I say that. Whereas enunciating your words as if you grew up in Orange County, California, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, if you're making an effort to enunciate your words, like, I mean, if you you grew up country, if you were a country boy, meaning if you're a country boy and you're trying to sound like you grew up in Orange County, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, that might pass for acting white. You're trying to be something that you're not. But if your accent comes off authentic and you are making an effort to give a strong command of the English language, and like I said, coming from where I come from, there's going to be a little bit of a southern accent to it. I mean, that's what I mean when I say, because that's how I talk. That is my natural accent, and that's premised upon where I grew up, how I grew up. I mean, it fluctuates. Mine, it fluctuates. That's just how it is. But I remember this kid, right? A black guy, like I said, one of the few black guys I hung out with, and he had an accent that others would suggest sounded like would sound like he came off as a white boy. I think I talked about this before too. So, and we were cool. Like, whatever accent I was using, I'm pretty sure I was using the same. Like I said, I'm from Tennessee, and all I know is Tennessee prior to coming out here. But so the next year, this brother starts hanging out with some niggas. Next thing I hear, he done forgot all about me, like he was ashamed of me. I don't think it was that deep. Like, we were just cool. We were cool. I really can't even say he was my friend, because it ain't like I went to this nigga's crib or we just kicked it or whatnot. But so 1 year later, I see this dude hanging out with the goons, hanging out with some niggas, and it was a whole 180. It was a whole 180. The nigga switched up. He went from having a strong command of the English language, albeit using his natural accent, to, yeah, bruh, mine, cub, mine, bruh, mine, yeah, just mush mouthing. And to me, that is as much of a sellout. That if you do that as a black man, you are selling out just as much if you were hanging out with some white guy, like, hello guy, like, what's up, dude? Unless that's how you talk. Unless that is how you authentically talk. Maybe you grew up in that environment. I don't know. Because I remember that growing up. And I got a lot of backlash from the black community because of that. That, oh, I talk so white. Only to find out that Keisha's a ghetto gag and bed wench. I'm like, hell, at least I'm not a bed buck. I talk right. Only to find out that I'm even more of a victim of police harassment than Pookie and Ray Ray themselves. I wish y'all would tell these race soldiers out here in white so they'll stop fucking with me, right? And I say all that to say, nigga, I've encountered more white supremacy than you ever would in your motherfucking life. Probably for the most part because you confined to the hood. And I take it on head on. And I say that to